Hello and welcome to EcoElsa and a new segment that I will be doing once a month called Exploring with EcoElsa. What we're going to be doing today is I'll be taking you guys on a hike to point out some cool fall things for you so that way you are knowledgeable about them when you're taking your students outdoors on a hike. So follow me. On this month's episode, what we'll be covering is 3 of the big things that happen in the fall weather as far as September and October go. There is leaves changing color, you have animals migrating, heading south for the winter, at least here in North America, and 3, you have some animals like reptiles going into hibernation. So one of the most noticeable things about fall is the fact that all the leaves are changing color and falling off the trees. The reason why the leaves seem to turn oranges, yellows, and browns is because of a chemical called carotenoids. Carotenoids are in the leaf all year round. It's just that the bright green chlorophyll covers up the color of the carotenoids. But in the fall, as the days get shorter and cooler, the chlorophyll starts to die off, and then you start to see the carotenoids showing through. This tree is a young chokecherry tree. You can tell the difference between it and black cherry because the leaves are a little bit more rounded. They come to a point, and if you look at the bark has a speckled look to it because it is a young chokecherry tree. The cool thing about cherries is that the leaves have the potential to turn these bright red colors. This is because the reason why you get red colors in tree leaves is because of a chemical called anthocyanin. Now this chemical is not usually found in the trees. It is produced in the fall when you have a lot of sugars getting trapped in the leaves with the leaf proteins, and then you get anthocyanins that causes it to create this red pigment color. Because of this, if you have nice warm days where the leaves are producing a lot of sugar, and then cool nights where the sap isn't able to leave the leaf and get back into the tree trunk, this is what produces the tree to cause this bright red colors. So you get better bright red with warmer days and cool nights. So one of the things that happens in fall is you have a lot more plants that are starting to have berries forming so that they can put seeds into the ground so new plants can grow next year. This plant right here is called deadly nightshade. It's very important when taking kids out on hikes in the fall to make sure you emphasize to not eat any berries because you don't know if that berry is going to be edible or poisonous. This is deadly nightshade. Obviously, judging from the name, you should be able to tell that it is not an edible plant. That being said, supposedly the berries are supposed to be edible, but I wouldn't trust anything coming from a plant that says deadly nightshade in its name. Fall mushrooms are another common hazard that you'll have when you're going on hikes because they can be really brightly colored like this one right here. So this mushroom is very bright colored. I don't know for sure what species it is, but odds are that it's probably not an edible one since it is so brightly colored. So it's important when you have kids outdoors with you in the fall to make sure that they know to not eat any mushrooms. This is another fun fall plant that actually is okay if your students touch it. It is called spotted touch-me-not or jewelweed. And the reason why it's called touch-me-not is because when you actually brush against these seed pods here, they actually will explode open. So just like this. What's cool about the jewelweed seeds also is after they pop open, you have this jelly shell stuff on the outside, and these are the seeds on the inside. So after you skin the skin off of the seed, they're this bright blue color. Another cool thing about going on fall hikes with your kids is there's going to be a lot of fall flowers out here. This is a perfect example. This one is Canadian goldenrod. So this is it's usually a little bit bright yellower bloom that's around this time of the year. And in fact, a lot of times this is the plant that people are blaming for their fall allergies for pollen. And if you take a look at these flowers, the pollen is actually pretty sticky on them usually. It sticks to bees and bumblebees, so it can't actually get in the air and into your nose. What's actually most likely causing your allergies is ragweed. So here we have some black-eyed Susan. This is another common prairie type plant. The reason why there are so many flowers blooming this time of the year is you have a lot of plants trying to get out the last seeds before winter so that new blooms can come up in the spring. So those seeds will disperse in the fall, or the flower will die over the winter and the seeds will be dropped over the winter and the early spring. Here we have a common visitor to Minnesota lakes and ponds, the Canada geese. That is the correct way of saying it. It's not Canadian geese, it's Canada geese. And these gentlemen and ladies are stopping by for a quick rest and some food as they continue migrating south for the winter. A lot of different animals choose migration as a way to survive through the winter. It's a little bit easier, even though there is the large trek, because they don't have to try and find food while up here with the freezing water. One of the cool things about Canada geese is that they're part of the reason why we have the Migratory Bird Act. Way back in the early 1900s, a lot of waterfowl were almost hunted to the point of extinction because people were doing commercial hunts and then selling a big pile of geese or ducks or whatever to different restaurants for them to serve in the restaurant. So a lot of different conservation groups and hunters all work together to work with politicians to create these protections so that we have the geese and all the other different birds and waterfowl that we have to this day. It's part of the reason why each state has its own hunting limit, and that translates into the tags that people buy so that they can go out and hunt. So pretty cool history there. I know a lot of us get pretty annoyed with geese because they're everywhere. They're kind of like rats in that sense, but they're just very good at adapting to this brave new world of the humans combining with what was their natural landscape. So they're very good at nesting in all the little ponds scattered throughout human developments, and is where we run into a lot of the conflicts between humans and geese. I really do love living in this state. It's really beautiful. You can't get much more beautiful than this. Looks like we have a friend. So 2 male wood ducks and 2 female wood ducks. They must be migrating together. Lakes and ponds like this are very important throughout the country because they allow for a temporary spot for a lot of different migrating waterfowl to stop and rest as they get ready to move on to the next place. Here we have another amazing little migrator that will be migrating through your states this fall if they haven't already finished doing so, like here in Minnesota. They're kind of at the tail end of it. They're all heading south for the winter. Monarch butterflies migrate south every winter to overwinter in the same group of mountains down in Mexico, where they'll stay in a semi-hibernated state while they wait for spring to make the migration back north to raise their young, in part to their loss of habitat for raising their young in the Midwest and North America, as well as for some of their loss of habitat in Mexico for them to overwinter in. Additionally, though, they are stressed out because there is a loss of habitat for them to make stops at along their way south for the winter or north to raise their young. This is why it's important to, in addition to planting milkweed plants for monarchs to raise their young on, to also plant food for the monarch adults to eat while they make their travels. It takes a lot of energy for such a small insect to travel thousands of miles south for the winter and north for breeding. You can help monarch butterflies migrate south for the winter by planting some of the plant species in the list in the description below. So, as I was saying, when it comes to fall, a lot of animals are getting ready for winter. And one of the ways a lot of animals get ready for winter is hibernating. Right now, in this time of September and October, it's going to be mostly the reptiles that are getting ready to hibernate for the winter. Just like this fellow right here, or miss. This right here is a western painted turtle. So they are found very common in Minnesota, and they're a very cool animal. And how they like to hibernate is usually in the bottom of lakes and ponds. And they have a really cool adaptation, and that's an ability that allows them to survive, that allows them to hibernate in the bottom of lakes and ponds. This fellow, or miss right here, oh, this is cool, watch, flipped itself over. So this turtle right here, I'm not going to pick or touch or pick it up because I don't want to disturb them, but they have a really cool adaptation where they can actually, when hibernating underwater, they can breathe. And they're not breathing with their mouth like a normal turtle would, they're actually breathing out of their butt. It's a really fun fact that students love and can't get enough of. This is how they survive underwater, by using very little energy to get the oxygen that they need. Now, they're not actually breathing out of their butt. If you want to be more technical, they're breathing out of their cloaca, which is their vent that they use for going to the bathroom as well as for reproduction. In their cloaca, there is a lining with a lot of blood vessels, and through those blood vessels, they're absorbing oxygen that they then get into their bloodstream and use to survive in the winter. As we're talking about a lot of different animals in the northern hemisphere as they're getting ready to hibernate for the winter as another means of survival, this right here is a crayfish tower. Crayfish is coming up to the bank here, and it's dug itself a tunnel into the bank, and it will stay there over the winter. This is one of the methods by which a lot of animals will choose to hibernate over the winter. Mostly reptiles and invertebrates and amphibians hibernate this method. Crayfish can also hibernate actually in the lake, and they stay semi-awake, and they might eat some things throughout the winter, or they can do this type of method. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. So if you liked the video, make sure to click the like button below, but especially that subscribe button, because that's the only way you can be entered in a giveaway in an upcoming video. So make sure to subscribe so you can win a fabulous prize. If you're looking for more resources to help you take kids outdoors, check out my description. I have links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, as well as my blog with tons of resources for helping adults get kids outdoors, or kids find something cool to do. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. You be safe, learn lots, have fun, and get your kids outdoors. Bye!